welcome to Road Gang Radio, the second half. Jim, I love this next guest that is joining us. I love that we are, we celebrate both kinds. We celebrate all kinds on this show, which I can't wait to tell our next guest about, how we intro every country in Western music news. But Jim, we are here at Road Gang Radio. We are taking our message out on the road to everybody across the way, but we want to make sure everybody understands that everybody's welcome here on this show. Everybody is welcome here on the road. Everybody's welcome on our airwaves, and that starts with our next guest, Shelly, joining us next. Shelle Lichti with the LGBT Truckers Inc. and the RainbowRider. Good morning, friend. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys this morning?
Oh, you sound fun.
You have to be in my world.
Fair enough. Jimmy, say hi to my new friend, Shelly.
Well, like I said, your new friend, my new friend, our new friend, everybody out there's new friend, everybody in Road Gang Radio, jump into the chat and say hello and good morning. Jump in and spread the good news.
Let's be friends.
We're onboarding friends like crazy here. By the way, just to kind of give us a sense, so the 73rd guest was the guest yesterday. So we have now had... can't count Robert. He was already here. 275. We've now had 77 guests. Shelley is our 78th guest in less than 3 weeks. And we are thrilled to welcome you to our friends. Welcome. Where are you right now?
It is such an honor to participate with you guys and join you in this fun show. We are currently in Nebraska outside of Omaha.
All right, then. And when you reached out, so I want to say, so Shelley is the founder and executive director of LGBT Truckers Inc., which is a 501c3. You can head on over to LGBTTruckers.org. The T does not stand for truckers. It's 2 T's, guys. It's LGBT and then truckers. So LGBTTruckers.org. Thanks for making time for us this morning. I want to start out by telling you, so we do country and Western music news around here because we celebrate both kinds. We celebrate all kinds. And that includes having you and us introducing you to introducing our world to what you guys do there. So give us, before we dive in and ask you all of our absurd questions, which we will, give us an overview of how and when you started this organization and really what was the motivation behind it.
Well, we officially launched in 2008 after the Mats. We ended up having a conversation about a friend who had passed away and how we needed to, create an environment that people could talk to each other, stay connected. And this is back when it was conference calls. The different groups would set up like 800 conference lines so that we can chat while on the road, this early cell phones, blah, blah. And somebody decided to be hateful, and I was like, because of you, I'm moving forward with this. Yes. We've always been, fighting for, at least to be treated as crappily as the next person. Being filled with hate.
Give me a chance to be treated like crap at least. Come on.
By the way,
we work twice as hard to get hated, to get the same level of disrespect. So come on now. That's trucking.
Shelley, speaking of trucking, I want to pivot here to get. Go ahead, Lindsay. I want to pivot here to kind of go a little bit earlier because everybody likes a good origin story. First and foremost, the last letters of this organization in the .org spell truckers. I want you to tell us your trucking story, how you get into the industry and why the industry means so much to you. Because in order to attach that acronym to that word truckers, it means that trucking means a lot to you. So can you kind of unpack your own relationship with trucking and what it means to you and what it is you're doing with it right now?
So for me, I came into trucking in a very odd way, not traditional, wasn't hatched into this industry by family members. I came into this as a runaway hitchhiking with truck drivers around the country and very quickly learned that I had to protect myself out here back then. It was a different world, different culture. And I was on my own hitchhiking, and a driver, very quickly was like, hey, I need to take a nap. And I was like, oh, I can drive. I had already been fascinated with trucks and being able to the freedom And I was roughly about 14. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. And this is old cab over a double stick. And I smashed the crap out of the gears, but I said the right thing at the right time. I said, every truck shifts different. I didn't know this, but he took the time and saw that I wanted to learn and taught me. And I basically did true freelance outlaw until I got my CDL. Trucking literally raised me and helped me become the person I am. So I needed to find innovative ways to serve our trucking community, my brothers and sisters out here, as well as helping to make changes within our industry to make both sides better, to build that bridge, so to speak.
Well, and the building the bridge thing, that's the most important thing here, because we have drivers perhaps listening that say, well, how does this affect me when we're talking about your organization? It just doesn't affect me. Well, it does, because, we're all sharing space out there. Everyone's sharing space out there. And, we just have to be good neighbors to each other out there on the road. And I told Jim and his wife Claire this the other day, Shelly. We were at Matt's this past year. And I sang at this event and then was sitting in the back afterward and happened to sit down just randomly next to someone. They were alone back at a table, and we got to talking. And it was a truck driver who's a member of the trans community. And we had struck up the most lovely conversation. She was sitting alone. I didn't think much of it because I'll talk to a wall. I don't care. And at the end of our conversation, she was like, this is the first time I've been at one of these where somebody sat by me and talked to me. And I was like, wow. And I noticed afterward, it was funny because I was sitting there, a couple of our sponsors, a couple of people from the corporate world ended up coming over. This driver actually signed up for one of the services that we'd been talking about promoting. And those people said to me, you know what? I admit I will follow my own. I will take blame here. I didn't go over to that person because they look different for me. And you introduced us. Now they remember. Now they're a client, one of the first paying clients this week. So shame on me. And I was like, that's all it takes. Just talking to someone, remember the human in it. So let's talk about what from that transition, you became a trucker, you were seeing, it gave you a place in a community. And then I assume that gave you the power and the embodiment to go out then and tell your story. Tell me when you finally felt seen enough to be like, I can bridge the gap and do something good here.
Well, it wasn't so much, me, having the strength to do it. I saw a need, and regardless of my comfort zone, I needed to step out to help others. Somebody eventually took time and took me under their wing. So I needed to, give back in my own way to help give a voice to a community. And we are an untapped part of the industry, from recruiting, sales, all facets of the supply chain network. And so therefore, giving visibility to these people, pointing out that, hey, by your own prejudices, you are creating a culture where you're losing out on potential employees, major contributors to your success, as well as their own individual success. Trucking has given a lot of drivers the opportunity to become themselves, whether it is to heal from emotional wounds, to, investing in their own family's future economically, to for those of the trans community, to out of that shell, they're now inside of another opportunity where they can be their authentic selves right from the get-go, or because our personal interactions are so short, we're in our own little bubble. Make your bubble what you need it to be for you.
That makes a lot of sense, by the way. And I want to kind of bring up something as a roundabout way. I don't know if you guys know this, but one of the reasons why we saw a rise in PTSD among veterans after Vietnam is the fact that people weren't given time to compress. Is that it used to be that when soldiers came home from war, those folks would actually come across in boats with the people they had served in. It would often take them sometimes a month to make those journeys, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month to make those journeys back home. It would give them decompression space. And what started happening after Vietnam was that people would come home in commercial aircraft. And in the blink of an eye, they'd be in a terrible war zone and then dumped back in the middle of their lives and their families with nobody understanding what had been processed. Shelley, you made such a good point. The idea, I didn't even think about this. I'm sure Lindsay has because it's her bailiwick. The idea that what the trucking space gives a lot of people, that sense of becoming, is it gives them a space to have a moment to make some money, to get a living, to establish an identity, but also to kind of process the world that has happened to them before they've gotten a chance to get to this one. And it sounds to me to some degree that a lot of the folks that you work with in your organization have that story to tell, right? That trucking helped them not only heal psychic wounds, but also come to peace and then thrive inside of the reality of who they were. Is that fair?
Yes, it is an environment that an individual can completely thrive and, better themselves and not continue that cycle of, whether it's a self-blaming or excuses or letting their environment hold them back. They are in charge of their own destiny, whether it is moving freight or moving forward with their own identity.
Go ahead, Liz. We both wanted. We both have so many questions for you, by the way, Shelley, that we keep looking at each other, going, "I'll go. No, you go. No, I'll go. No, you go." Lindsay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, just to taking charge of your identity, but then on the other side of that, can you just give some, for drivers out there who may be perhaps uncomfortable or unsure how to talk about identity, both in their own or when trying to, find commonalities with other people. What's one thing you would say, Shelley, that they can do differently today that would go perhaps a long way in a conversation? And that goes for both themselves and seeing others.
Right. And you hit a key word right there, conversation. We all come to the table with a lot of attributes, like you going to the table and sitting down with that driver and having and initiating a conversation with them. You end up finding out that the individual is more than their presentation. There is a person inside there.
Yeah.
Regardless of their outward presentation. Give them that opportunity. We all, regardless of our identities and how we affiliate, our religion, any of the political viewpoints, blah, blah, we're more than I'm more than being just a lesbian. I'm more than that. Get to know me beyond that label.
Well, and this is the other thing here. We're not just, you have this organization that you work with, but we're not just talking about LGBTQ here. This goes for any race, political. Yeah, we're talking about today. You just happen to be representing that facet, but this goes for anything. And I think, and that's what we try to do, Shelley, on this show. I almost said on this here show. That was very country. On this here show is not have interviews, but have conversations. Jim and I talk about that a lot with Dave as well. This is conversations. It's getting to know each other. It's a back and forth, and it's I like the reminding. I think labels get in the way of everything in this world, unfortunately, but it also helps us express ourselves out in the world. So finding that balance is also important.
Shelley, I also wanted really quickly, Shelley, I wanted to say our friend Joe J is just commenting on the chat of the Book of Faith on the Tube of You, and he's got to say, I've seen a wrapped LGBT truckers Freightliner out on the road before. Small world. He wanted me to tell you hello and welcome to the show. That's one of our regular contributors over there.
Hey. So, we are looking forward to rolling out the fourth one.
Oh, fantastic. So I want to also pivot to trucking as well here, because you made the point. We've always said that, when we talk with women in trucking, we remind people that often people have better bathrooms at rest stops because women are in trucking. That often there is a chance to actually get more promotions or to get better routes sometimes because there are other voices creating pressure on the trucking industry. This is as much about trucking as it is about who it represents, because bathrooms, clean bathrooms, safe spaces, better working conditions. You guys are bringing more voices in to create pressure so that, by the way, you made the joke so that we all don't get treated as crappily. We just want to be treated as badly as everybody else. If, in fact, you are allowed into the conversation, there's a chance that everybody, and I mean everybody's conditions on the road can improve, right?
Yes. Yeah, we all have our own individual responsibility to try to make and better our industry, our environment, and our culture in the transportation industry. especially with, all of the media spotlighting, not the effectiveness and actually going after, the regulations about reading, speaking, comprehending English, the political, crap show about, people's identities. We have our own individual responsibilities to put our best foot forward to make things a little bit better for ourselves as well as the next person.
Okay, this truck also, the rainbow truck, if you go to LGBTTruckers.org, you can see it. It's rainbow, obviously, so it just is bright and cheery. It makes me happy. It reminds me of Punky Brewster, by the way, which I loved watching growing up. And it says, it's got love is love right there on the hood. It's so vibrant and colorful. Jim, I feel like this truck belongs in New Orleans, by the way. This truck is got Mardi Gras written all over it. It needs to be at our studio in New Orleans at some point. First of all, let me say that. But what are some of the things, are there, what's fun about the truck? Where does it show up? What does it do? How can people get involved in the truck? I mean, I know what it does, but it doesn't shoot bubbles out or anything, although that would be very cool.
Work on it.
But how do you see the truck just itself bringing joy and smiles to everyone? Because I'm smiling looking at it right now, Shelley.
It does make you smile. The bright primary colors, it instantly uplifts the spirits, and it makes you do a double take. And for me, it is rolling visibility of the community, but it is just a rolling piece of art. It took a long time to coordinate and bring this together. It took 3 years to design. I'm very passionate about it, and at the time when I first did this, there was no pride representation within transportation in this type of a venue. You've got, other awareness vehicles, and I was like, why not a pride awareness? So rather than waiting for somebody else, I decided to do it, and I wanted to literally try to tell a story with the truck. There is the road. The road gives us the opportunity to become ourselves and to heal. We are in charge of our own destinies, which means, picking the road we're going to travel. And, the industry as a whole, we are all out here. We are all out here sharing the roads. And it doesn't matter who or what you are. It takes all of us collectively to keep this country moving.
Yeah.
And it creates conversation. Those who are too young to have bias, they look at this and get all excited. And I, of course, love doing the horn honk. I don't care if I get a ticket. Well, technically it's illegal to do it. But you know what? We're us truckers, you lose your...
Dude, if that's illegal, that's what I'm going to jail for. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing time for? I blew my horn. That's what I'm in time for. Some kid told
Literally.
me.
Literally.
Yeah. Some kid told me. Some kid asked me to pull on that cord, and I did it, and here I am. There you go. No problem with that whatsoever.
Right. So it continues. Yeah, it continues in having a conversation about sensitivity towards other people. It teaches geography. We're involved with some school classes that follow our truck around the country. It teaches, geography, mathematics, and also how, people from different cultures, religions, political viewpoints can do the same thing. We can all work together.
I wanted to ask a final question. I can't believe how fast this has gone by, although I had a feeling it would. The conversation aspect is the most important, because one of the things, and this is really a message of hope, there's some people out there, it always surprises you when you talk with folks. It always surprises me that we always end up having friends where we least expect them. Has that been your experience? Has it been any sort of really positives here where you have found out, I had no idea that you were standing with us. I had no idea that a guy like you or a gal like you was actually going to stand up and be counted among our friends. Has that been your experience?
Yes. When social media, of course, is a microsphere of its own, and it gets a little interesting at times, and it's a source of constant entertainment. But face-to-face interactions, you learn not to judge by appearances. And I really love it that, we always say there's, probably one in every family. of our community. But when I have, this big burly, truck driver stereotype come up to me and was like, I just found out last week that my son was gay. Thank you for doing this. Can I have a hug? Here's this big burly man. And I'm like, yeah, I'm, squeaking. Yes, sure. Or somebody who has been silent, or getting those mystery letters stuck in my window saying, you know what, thank you for everything you do. You make me feel stronger today.
That's so, you made the great point, Shelley. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but you made that great point of saying, if some driver be like, my son or my daughter or whatever, and it's not just about you, it's about your family as well and everyone around you. So just being aware is what it's all about. And I have to ask before we go, how's anybody realized that trans is in transportation? Like, why are we not talking about that?
Well, we actually
been saying it for a while. We put the trans in transportation.
I love that.
By the way, Shelley, New Orleans put the fun in funerals, so everything's working out the way it should.
Yeah!
Thank you so much.
Definitely reach out to us. We want to come down and be with you guys.
Let's have them for sure. Shelley, LGBTTruckers.org. You can find out more. You can get involved, or you know what? You can just pat somebody on the back. Thanks for joining us. Shelley, have the best day.
Bye-bye. You guys be safe.